his thought process. If you ask your coordinator for something and you feel like you're not getting it, then things have to change. And I don't know if that's exactly what the case, but as you heard the comments over the last month or so, it felt that there was a disconnect between the two, and that disconnect had to be resolved, and he felt this is the best way to resolve it.
When you say, when you ask your coordinator for something, what you're talking about is if it was the case that he wanted them to be more dedicated to the run, not historically non-dedicated to the run, and he was just week after week not seeing that in the offensive game.
Yeah, you know, I had a situation with the coordinator one time where I said, I don't want to use the tight end in pass protection against this defensive end because it's a mismatch and tight ends aren't very good, especially in a three-point stance. And we did it the next game, and I brought the guy in and I said, look, maybe something I said wasn't clear, but let me explain this to you. If it happens again, it's going to be the last time. It's going to be the last time. And Bill told me a long time ago, look, if you are, you need to go home and be happy with your assistant coaches. And if they're not happy with you, tell them to go get their own head coaching job. And at the end of the day, the owner needs to be happy. And if you're not happy about that, go buy your own team. And that's the way it works. That's the way it works. So if he wanted something and didn't get it, and then explained it again and didn't get it, then it's time to find someone who's going to give it to you.
Did you, I'm not asking for specifics here, but in your time coaching either as an assistant, a coordinator, or a head coach, or just observing the league, get the feeling that there are certain guys that as soon as they got a job were looking for the next job? And by that I mean like thinking about, how, okay, I'm trying to do this job, but I also want to see how this can position me for the promotion or the next gig.
Yeah, and I'm not going to comment on this specific situation because I don't know, but yes, that's absolutely a situation where you're auditioning to be an offensive coordinator, and sometimes the trick plays are in vogue right now. The Philly special, the Santa Claus, so, you know, whatever. There's a million names for these players. Yeah, one of my favorites. And so some of it is what's in vogue, what's going to get me noticed, what's going to get. This is the head coaching carousel time. What's going to get me on the radar screen? But that's inherently selfish. And you ask players all the time to put their own self-interest beneath the team's best interest. And the coaches should be out in front in doing that at all times.
Yeah, I was in Minnesota when Dennis Green, he fired the offensive coordinator. Jack Burns fired him right on the spot, doing exactly what you talked about. Denny Green wanted to run the offense a certain way. Jack had a certain ideology that he wanted to change the offense and put his spin on it, because a lot of these offenses, they say, oh, I'm a West Coast, and oh, I'm a play action, oh, I'm from Norv Turner, Ernie Zambezi. But every offense has the personality of the guy calling it. Defenses too. You can be a 34, you can be a 43, you can be a nickel, dime, whatever, but the personality of that person will be on that offense. Brian Billick, he was appointed from tight end coach to being the coordinator. Now, Brian and I used to talk, and Brian taught me a lot of football. And Brian, he was ambitious at a young age, ultimately end up being a Super Bowl champion as a head coach in Baltimore. But Brian said, I ain't going to be no fool. I just watched a guy get shot by Dennis Green. I'm not going to try to, try to impress. Now, I do have some concepts and some things that I believe our personnel is better suited for. And he immediately changed that. But in establishing what the coach wanted, that was the #1 thing. And then once Brian became high-flying, we started breaking records, then Brian started applying for jobs, but not in that order as far, because he had the talent, we had a great system, and he established himself what the coach wanted. And him and Dennis Green were in cahoots as far as resurrecting our offense, which ultimately led to us breaking all those records in Minnesota.
And if you look at the Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley thing, Hugh had every right to ask for what he wanted to ask for. That was his role. Now, if he wasn't in a position to get it, then that whole thing was set up for failure from the start. And you can have an honest conversation with someone coming in, and things can change. But as the head coach, you have the right to ask for what you want and get what you want. And if it doesn't work, it's not on the coordinator, it's on the head coach.
Are we going to know pretty quickly what DeFilippo wasn't doing right when we see the game plan this week when they play? Are we going to see a difference enough where we're going to say that's what they were trying to do, or that's what Zimmer wanted to do?
I would imagine it's going to skew one direction or the other. And as Chris said, when there was that change and someone, it was
err on the side of
you're gonna give them. You want runs? Here they are, and here they are in bulk. And during the game, as a head coach, you may say, okay, pull it back a little bit and adjust it as you go. But yeah, I'd imagine you'll get what Zimmer wanted.
This is my concern in Minnesota. And, Coach, I know you're a fan of continuity. In this league, it's very, very important. Vikings last 3 years, 4 different offensive coordinators. Norv Turner, a guy I respect. I met with Norv. He's now calling plays for Carolina Panthers. He's still in the league. He didn't quit coaching because he didn't want to coach. There was something going on there. So, yeah, I respect Zim. The Wilf family, they've invested. That's their head coach. And they're allowing him to pick. But they got to get that offensive side of the ball figured out. And also, I believe that his stress, he's been stressing about the offense, it's affected how the defense is playing. Last year, #1. This year, #11. So whoever he turns it over to him, I hope he can just concentrate on the defense because that's where Zim has made his mark in this league for a long time.
Here's the ironic thing is Pat Schumer, I think, ran the ball at the highest percentage of anybody last year, and he's the one that got the head coaching job. So it wasn't about the passing game.
Great point.
He did what Minnesota wants to do, who they want to be, and how did it work out? They had team success. He had personal success, and he moved on to a head coaching job.
And that also set up Case Keenum in the best position possible, where Case played way over his skis last year because he wasn't being asked to throw the ball like Cousins is 2 out of every 3 plays. It was 1 out of every 2 because they were running the ball nearly 48% of the time last year. So in that regard, now a lot of things went well for the Vikings last year, but in that regard, that worked well for Keenum got paid, Shermer got a head coaching job, the team went 13-3, everything went well in that regard.
No, the Vikings didn't. We didn't get no Super Bowl.
Okay, well, fair enough. It was a solid season despite that, but I understand your point.
You so much?
Yeah,
Well, because you didn't need to. Everyone knew they didn't win a Super Bowl, see?
Everyone didn't get paid.
Can we not let Kirk Cousins off the hook either?
Oh, listen, I'm with you, Coach. That's what I got all this.
Fire Kirk too.
Next up for the Vikings, they host the Miami Dolphins. Coach, we'll see a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, how could the Clippers land not 1, but 2 superstars this offseason? We'll give you the recipe next on First Things First.
I've been looking for that recipe.
It's good. A little molasses.
Oh, molasses?
Yeah.
What are you adding molasses to?
No, my...
Luis? Stephanie? Hola. Hi.
Opportunity is everywhere. Like here, where you can explore the world, knowing you can always find your way home.
What if numbers tell only half the story? At T. Rowe Price, hundreds of our experts go beyond the numbers to examine investment opportunities firsthand. Like a biotech firm that engineers a patient's own cells to fight cancer. This is strategic investing. Because your investments deserve the full story. T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
The Dickies Flex Series is built for performance, with superior comfort and advanced mobility, all backed by the unconditional satisfaction guarantee. Dickies Flex.